Last night's episode of The Reform Room turned into something no one saw coming. What started as another installment of pointed political commentary spiraled into a fierce ideological clash that has social media and news outlets in a frenzy. The guest? None other than Elon Musk, tech mogul, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and self-styled provocateur of the digital age. The host? Caleb Winters, the firebrand liberal talk show host known for his brash tone and unapologetic, progressive, crusader image. The tension was already palpable from the moment Musk walked on stage. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Cheers and a scattering of boos echoed across the sleek minimalist set. Musk gave a short, polite nod and smirked, clearly unfazed. Caleb, however, launched in quickly, skipping pleasantries. "Let's not waste time, Elon," Caleb began, clasping his cards like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "You've been celebrated as a tech visionary, but many now see you as a man stuck in the past, particularly when it comes to human rights and identity." Musk leaned back, clearly expecting something. "That's a vague statement. Want to be specific?" Caleb didn't hesitate. "Let's talk about your daughter. Your transgender daughter. A brave young woman who publicly distanced herself from you. Her own words, Elon. She said she doesn't wish to be related to you in any way, shape, or form. That's not just teenage rebellion. That's pain. And some would say that pain comes from your refusal to accept who she is." The audience shifted uneasily. Elon's jaw tensed, but his expression didn't change. Caleb pushed further, his tone sharpening. "Do you deny that your consistent support for anti-trans rhetoric, your retweets, your memes, your flippant mockery, all contribute to the hostility trans people face daily? Isn't it fair to say you're not just out of touch, but actively perpetuating harm? That your so-called free speech absolutism is just a mask for outdated transphobic ideologies?" Elon didn't answer right away. His fingers tapped slowly on the arm of his chair. Then, softly, "That's quite the accusation." Caleb didn't blink. "It's not just an accusation. It's observation, Elon. Your silence in supporting your daughter's transition speaks volumes. It reflects a deeper issue, the kind of traditionalist mindset that refuses to evolve, even when your own child is crying out to be seen. You're a man who builds rockets and neural interfaces, but can't update his worldview past 1950. The room went still. Even the producers behind the cameras seemed frozen, waiting for Musk's reaction. "You're conflating personal family matters with ideological warfare," Elon said evenly. "But I'll engage. Let's unpack this." But Caleb cut him off. "You don't get to hide behind family matters when your influence affects millions. You are one of the most powerful voices on the planet. When you ridicule pronouns, when you joke about trans rights like they're software bugs, you embolden hatred. And if your daughter says she wants nothing to do with you, maybe, just maybe, you should ask yourself if the problem isn't woke culture, but you." It was a hit designed to sting, and for a split second it looked like it landed. Elon blinked slowly. He inhaled, and then he smiled. "You're good at this," he said calmly. "You paint half-truths in bright neon, and call it moral clarity. You use your platform to push a worldview that punishes dissent, and you do it all under the banner of compassion. You think you're brave, Caleb? You're part of a system that rewards conformity, not courage." Caleb laughed dryly. "That's rich coming from the billionaire who bans critics on Twitter. X," Elon corrected. "It's called X now." "Right," Caleb sneered. "The platform you rebranded into a digital Wild West where bigotry rides free." The tension was now unbearable. The audience didn't know whether to clap or hold their breath. Elon didn't rise to the bait this time. He sat still, expression unreadable, but it was clear he was preparing something. "Let me ask you something, Caleb," Elon finally said, his voice lower now, more deliberate. Are we still allowed to believe in objective reality, or has that been outlawed by your ideology too? Caleb leaned forward. Reality is evolving, Elon. And people like, you are just afraid of being left behind. The two stared each other down. Musk's next words were so measured, so deliberate, that the entire room leaned forward. You keep calling it evolution, he said, but what you're pushing is erosion of meaning, of logic, of language, and you dress it up as progress. Because it's easier than admitting you've declared war on reason itself. Caleb tilted his head. So trans people are, what? A threat to reason? No, Elon said, eyes locked on him. But forcing compelled speech, shaming thought crimes, demanding ideological obedience, that is. Before the host could fire back, Musk added one more thing. I didn't lose my daughter to who she is. I lost her to people like you, who told her that love must look like validation, and disagreement is abuse. That is not progress. That is coercion. Caleb froze. The audience gasped. The tension had now hit a boiling point, and everyone knew this was no longer just an interview. This was about to be something far more explosive. For a brief moment, the set of the reform room felt like a vacuum. The audience sat stunned, as if Musk's words had knocked the air out of the room. Even the usually fiery Caleb Winters seemed thrown. His hands tightened around the cue cards he hadn't looked at in 10 minutes, now just props in a battle that had left the script far behind. Coercion, Caleb echoed, his voice quieter, tinged with disbelief. You think advocating for your daughter's identity is coercion? I think enforcing a singular worldview under the threat of cancellation is, Musk replied coolly. It's not about one person. It's about what's happening everywhere. You're not just asking people to be kind. You're demanding ideological surrender. Caleb straightened, finding his footing again. This isn't about surrendering anything. This is about decency, Elon. About respecting how people choose to live. I respect people, Elon countered, but I don't worship their ideas. And the moment I'm told I must or be labeled a bigot, we've crossed a dangerous line. A low murmur rippled through the audience. Caleb caught it and leaned in, eyes sharp. So you won't respect your daughter's wishes? Her name? Her identity? Basic respect? I respect her as a human being, Musk said. But I won't lie to her or to myself to earn the approval of people who see disagreement as violence. That's exactly the problem, Caleb snapped. You don't see how dangerous that thinking is. When someone like you refuses to affirm a trans person's identity, especially your own child's, you signal to millions that it's okay to dehumanize them. That's not disagreement, Elon. That's damage. Musk raised an eyebrow. And your solution is forced affirmation? Forced language? Rewrite biology, rewrite language, punish dissent, all in the name of compassion? Compassion is the bare minimum, Caleb said. No, Musk replied, voice firm now. Honesty is the bare minimum, and if we abandon it for slogans, for hashtags, for some warped utopia where people's feelings override objective truth, then we're not progressing. We're collapsing. Gasps echoed again. This wasn't just sparring anymore. It was a full-on ideological war being broadcast live. Caleb tried to press forward, his words coming faster now. You speak of objective truth, but ignore the lived truth of people who have suffered, who've had to fight for recognition. You frame yourself as some martyr of logic while ignoring the real-world harm your statements cause. Musk didn't flinch. I'm not ignoring suffering. I'm challenging the idea that truth must bend to feelings. And when it comes to children, especially children, we should be even more cautious. The rise in gender transitions among minors is skyrocketing, and so are the regrets. But we're told to shut up and clap. The temperature in the room dropped. Caleb's jaw clenched. You're parroting dangerous right-wing talking points, he spat. Your platform, your tweets, are dog whistles that embolden extremists. I don't care what fringe groups latch onto my words, Musk said coldly. I care about a world where ideas can be debated without mobs forming to destroy people. And that's what this is really about, isn't it? You don't want a conversation. You want control. No, Elon, Caleb said, voice rising. What I want is a world where your daughter doesn't have to see her own father mock her existence for likes and retweets. Musk's expression flickered for just a moment. The faintest hint of something, maybe regret, maybe pain, crept into his eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it came. You think I mock her? He asked. I grieve for her. I grieve for a culture that convinced her love must mean total agreement. That disagreement means hatred. That family is conditional. You want to talk about harm? Let's talk about that. Caleb opened his mouth, but Elon cut him off. You say I'm clinging to outdated beliefs. Maybe I am. Maybe the belief that biology matters, that children should be protected from irreversible choices, that free speech is not hate speech. Maybe those are relics now. But if they are, then we are building a society on sand. The room had grown, deathly silent. Caleb's hand lowered from his cards. The back and forth had become something rawer, something deeper. And yet he wasn't done. You know what I think, Elon? Caleb said, leaning forward, voice low and deliberate. I think you're terrified. Not of trans people, not of the woke mob, but of being irrelevant, of watching a world evolve past you. You built rockets to Mars, but Earth, real human connection, still confuses you. For the first time, Musk didn't respond immediately. He stared at Caleb. Then he looked out at the audience, who now sat in absolute stillness. And then, with an almost imperceptible shake of the head, he said, It's not me who doesn't understand connection. It's a culture that confuses affirmation with love. That believes unconditional support means unconditional agreement. That labels any opposition as hate. He turned back to Caleb. You think I'm afraid of being irrelevant. But irrelevance would be staying silent while the truth is twisted and weaponized. I could have sat this one out. I chose not to. Caleb exhaled sharply. And now you're a poster boy for reactionaries. No, Musk replied. I'm a warning. Caleb's lips parted as if to reply, but nothing came out. The cameras kept rolling. The silence stretched, and the world watched as two men standing on opposite sides of a cultural chasm stared each other down, the air between them crackling, unrelenting. But something in Caleb's demeanor had shifted. The mask of command, of control, it was beginning to slip. Musk had landed a blow, and for the first time in the segment, it was clear Caleb didn't know what to say next. The silence was broken only by the host's sharp inhale. Okay, Caleb finally muttered, his voice lower now, restrained. I think we've heard enough. Musk tilted his head. Have we? Caleb turned to the producers off camera. We're taking a break. No, we're not, Musk said. You invited me here to talk. Let's talk. Caleb ignored him. Cut to commercial. The producers didn't move. They were frozen too. Musk's voice sliced through the standstill. You brought me here to ambush me. But you didn't expect me to fight back. You didn't expect pushback from someone who won't play by your rules. Caleb stood now, clearly rattled. Elon, but Musk remained seated. You think I'm dangerous because I question the script, he said. But it's the script that's the problem. It demands obedience, not thought. And you, Caleb, are its mouthpiece. And just like that, the power balance shifted. Elon Musk sat with the unnerving calm of a man who'd been cornered, fought back, and realized he'd turned the tables. Caleb Winters, still standing, looked momentarily exposed, his authority hanging by a thread in the studio lights. The cameras continued to roll. The producers stayed frozen, unsure whether to intervene or let history play out live. The audience, once murmuring with laughter and gasps, now remained locked in a stunned silence. This wasn't a debate anymore. It had evolved into something else, a cultural reckoning happening in real time. "Elon," Caleb said, his tone no longer smug, but tense. "You're not here to give a lecture. This isn't a TED Talk." Musk stood now, slowly, deliberately. "No," he said. "It's not. But you wanted me here to play the villain. You wanted an easy narrative. Wealthy tech CEO refuses to accept his child's identity, gets grilled by the brave liberal host. Applause, tweets, headlines, end scene." Caleb clenched his jaw. "But you didn't count on being challenged," Musk continued, pacing slightly, hands clasped behind his back. "You didn't count on someone looking you in the eye and telling you the emperor has no clothes. What you're pushing, this woke utopia, is intellectually bankrupt, emotionally manipulative, and socially destructive." "Spare us the monologue," Caleb snapped. "You're not oppressed. You're the richest man on earth." "I'm not claiming oppression," Elon fired back. "I'm claiming perspective. And if you think wealth invalidates truth, then maybe you're not arguing principles. Maybe you're just arguing envy." The audience stirred. Caleb's face reddened. "I've seen people silenced, careers ruined, reputations incinerated over one wrong sentence," Musk went on. "We're raising a generation that believes words are violence, while real violence is ignored. That feels are more important than facts. And anyone who resists is labeled a bigot, a fascist, or worse." Caleb cut in, voice hard. "No one's saying feelings override facts." "Then why?" Elon said, stepping closer. "Am I being called transphobic for not pretending that sex and gender are interchangeable constructs? Why is nuance erased? Why are parents vilified for having doubts? Why is my refusal to blindly affirm a child's identity seen as abuse, but medicalizing kids without long-term data is celebrated as progress?" Caleb was breathing heavier now, caught between fury and the awareness that the room had turned. "You think this is all just some ideological war?" the host said, fists balled slightly at his sides. "But for people who are marginalized, for your own daughter, this is life and death. You call it woke, but it's survival." "No," Musk replied. "It's ideological capture. It's dogma replacing dialogue. And it's tearing families apart, just like mine." A beat. The words landed heavier than anything said that night. Musk's voice had dropped, less fiery now, more wounded. "I love my child," he said. "But love doesn't mean abandoning reason. It doesn't mean surrendering to social pressure masquerading as virtue. I wasn't the one who left. She was. And not because I don't accept her, but because I wouldn't kneel to a worldview that says parents must submit or be erased." For the first time, Caleb hesitated. A flicker of doubt, or guilt, or maybe just recognition that he'd pushed the fight into terrain he couldn't control anymore. "And now," Elon said, voice rising again, "you want to frame that pain, my family's pain, as political theater. You want to take something profoundly human and turn it into a ratings segment. But you're not the hero here. You're the salesman for a culture that's forgotten how to disagree," Caleb inhaled sharply. "You done?" "I was done the moment you stopped listening and started moralizing," Musk answered. Caleb turned to the camera crew, eyes narrow. "We're done here. The interview's over." But Musk didn't move. He looked out at the audience, at the cameras, then back to Caleb. "No," he said. "This is what done looks like. When truth becomes inconvenient. When someone doesn't fold when the script breaks." "I said the interview's over," Caleb repeated, now visibly rattled. "You don't get to silence a conversation just because it didn't go the way you wanted," Elon said, voice sharper now. "You invited me here for a fight. You got one. You lost. With that, Musk turned and walked toward the edge of the stage, but not before pausing just a moment beside Caleb. "You're not a journalist," he said quietly. "You're a gatekeeper. And the gate's wide open now." Without another word, he walked off. The audience erupted, not in applause or outrage, but in stunned disbelief. Some clapped, others booed, and many just sat there, unsure of what they'd just witnessed. The camera slowly panned to Caleb, still standing frozen, jaw tight, staring at nothing. He tried to recover, straightened his jacket, smoothed his cards, but it was over. He knew it. "We'll be right back," he mumbled, but the mic had already been cut. The lights dimmed. The crew rushed to black. That night, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Every platform lit up with debate. Supporters called Musk a truth-teller, a rare voice of sanity in a world gripped by ideological extremism. Critics called him dangerous, evasive, cruel. The reform room trended for hours. So did Musk meltdown and Caleb exposed. But perhaps the most shared clip wasn't one of the shouting or the speeches. It was a quiet moment, right after Musk said, "I grieve for a culture that convinced her love must mean total agreement." That line echoed. It unsettled. It resonated. In the days that followed, the reform room remained silent. Caleb released no statement. Musk, true to form, tweeted a meme the next morning. A cartoon of a man trying to plug his ears with wokeness, being blown away by a gust labeled truth. The caption simply read, "Not sorry." And just like that, a talk show confrontation, meant to shame a guest, had ended in reverse. A battle of ideologies had left one man standing, not because he shouted the loudest, but because he didn't flinch. The culture war had rolled through another battlefield, and Elon Musk had walked away from it, not unscathed but unbroken.